first of all, we talked about this last week. COVID-era policies are coming to an end next month, tomorrow, August, which I thought, and probably many of you watching this will think, there were still COVID-era emergency policies? Yes, there were. People still don't have to submit a work requirement to get government benefits for unemployment. People haven't needed to pay rent for the back rent that is due. People haven't been needing to make their payments for college, for loans, student loans. A lot of things haven't had to happen until like August, September, October is when a lot of these things get instituted. Now, over the weekend, went to a restaurant and watched the staff there clean a table so slowly as if there was no urgency or care for their job whatsoever. Now, in the climate, it's hard to blame them, but you wonder, why is it that people do not care about their jobs? Why don't they care about their jobs? Because employers can't find employees to do anything. In all sectors, you can't find a person to take out the trash at an office building. You can't find a person to do anything, anywhere, at any point. And everybody's wondering, why is that? Well, this would probably be a good example. The fact that there's no work requirement, hasn't been a work requirement for unemployment. People haven't had to pay their back rent. People haven't had to pay their college tuition. So as a person who wants to see the free market work, and is a person who has experience with people not being able to do jobs or have services provided, am super excited for all of the people that have milked the COVID emergency to finally get off their butts to go work. The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, apparently has jurisdiction over housing, which is crazy. The Supreme Court said, no, you don't. And then the Biden administration says, yes, we do, ignoring the Supreme Court and therefore the Constitution, which is probably an impeachable offense. People didn't have to pay rent because the CDC said they didn't need to from March of 2020 to September of 2021. 18 months, people didn't need to pay rent. Now, that didn't mean the rent got eliminated. That just meant that for a temporary period, the landlord had to eat that debt. Now, there's a deadline. August 1st is when renters have to pay that 18 months of back pay. If you pay $1,000 a month, which is pretty absurdly cheap, you owe $18,000 to your landlord, or else they can legally evict you now. This is the time period. The time period has ended in which a tenant needs to figure out all of the back pay. And if you're a person who's getting unemployment without a work requirement, who owes now $18,000 to a landlord, chances are, I think what we're going to see is a lot of evictions, but also a lot of people who now need to go back to work freaking finally in order to support themselves. And I am all for it. Again, it is crazy, the fact that this many people have been able to skate by. And also the fact that a lot of us didn't know this. I think I had been talking about this, like, what the heck is happening with the economy? Yeah, I had no idea that people were still able to collect unemployment without work benefits or without work requirements. They were still skating on the 18 months of rent that they didn't pay. Here's what I think is going to end up happening. A lot of these people are going to have to go back to work. Now, just from a numbers perspective, the Los Angeles City Council is putting in place, like, easing of these particular units. They think it covers about 400,000 units of people who are at risk of being evicted because they didn't pay for 18 months and they still haven't figured it out. Let's just say, hypothetically, 2.5 people live in each place. And I'm just using that as a statistic because I'm sure there's 4 people and then there's 1 people and anything in between. 2.5 people. So that's about 1 million doors, 1 million units that are going to be affected by this and have to have people go back to work. 1 million units is Los Angeles, has 4 million people living in it. A fourth of the population of Los Angeles is going to be affected by this. I think what's going to happen is a lot of those people are going to have to go back to work. And when those people go back to work, good news, the economy is going to be booming. Bad news, that's going to cause inflation to spike yet again. And I'm wondering if the Fed is keeping that in mind. I guess we'll see. We'll see in 6 months. I will either have been right and all of those people are going to have to go back to work, which I think is a good thing, but also interest rates are going to have to go up because more people going back to work means more economic movement, which means inflation, which is not good. I don't know. I'll either be right or wrong, but I guess we'll see either way.